Throughout this YouTube channel's existence, I have been given so many suggestions on horror channels and spooky things online that I really can't keep up with everything. However, there are some interesting videos and channels that I never really found a place for on my channel. They're not so in-depth that they require their own long video essay, nor are they so mysterious that they require a mini mysteries episode. But these videos that you've given me through email, DMs, and on twitch.tv/Goose_Boose, where we watch a ton of spooky channels. You should totally check it out, by the way. I do it every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The videos I'll be talking about today are just interesting on their own merit. And they're some of my favorite content online right now, and I want to share it to you guys. So sit back, relax, enjoy the following videos and channels that I have to tell you, and all their links are in the description down below. So please check them out, give them some love, give them some support, and I hope you guys agree with me when I say that these videos are just super interesting and they require way more love. But first, a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. It's a brand you know and love, as more than 10 million men globally have sung its praises all over, and they've mastered the art of producing superior men's grooming and hygienic tools for your wonderful body. This time around, they were generous enough to send me their latest grooming/hygiene bundle, the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the Weed Whacker 2.0, a handy little tool made to weed out those pesky ear and nose hairs you might be struggling to get out, with the skin-safe technology built in to make your trims as safe as possible. It also has the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Electric Trimmer, which takes grooming precision to a whole new level with their next-gen dual skin-safe blade heads, accompanied by an upgraded trimmer blade and interchangeable foil blade for enhanced performance. The trimmer blade can take down the wildest body hair you've got with precision, with the foil blade making it practically glide on your skin, making your shaving experience clean, easy, and gentle on your body. This dual powerhouse can make any morning shave quick and easy, and with the added bonuses of the bigger LED light, as well as the fact that this baby is waterproof, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra got you covered, literally anywhere and everywhere. And of course the Crop Soother, which is enriched in soothing ingredients such as the shea butter and coca seed butter that helps moisturize your privates and make them feel oh so good, paired with a Crop Preserver ball deodorant made to make those privates smell even better. But these aren't the only things you get. With the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, you'll also get 2 free gifts, the Boxers 2.0 with the comfortable jewel pouch, as well as the Shed 2.0 to keep all your grooming tools in one convenient and roomy place. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to manscaped.com and get your hands on the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra today. And when you use my promo code GooseBoost, you'll get 20% off plus free international shipping plus 2 free gifts. That's code GooseBoost for 20% off, free shipping, and 2 free gifts. You won't regret it, and thank you once again to Manscaped for the sponsor. The first content creator I wanted to talk about is JP Santoro, an animator that, if you haven't already seen, is on TikTok and YouTube. While most of the content he's made are usually just shorts, some of them are in fact just longer videos, but not by very much. He used to make an older series that I believe is more horror oriented, but I didn't really look too deep into that. I was way more interested in his more wholesome stuff. Yeah, it's kind of weird to say, but he's kind of someone who makes wholesome horror content. But I think that's probably skewing it a little bit, because they're not really that wholesome, they're just more grounded and real. See, characters in JP Santoro's videos are a boy and a girl who both encounter monsters almost daily, and these monsters are extremely horrific. They are crazy, crazy ugly looking. But despite how they look, their actual words of advice towards these two characters kind of ring true to anyone who suffers through whatever they suffer through. These monsters make sure that these characters are safe in their mind, whether it's about a breakup they've went through or about any sort of uncertainty that they're facing. It's extremely sweet, and it's kind of cool because these characters are currently going through a major phase in the story. Yeah, there is kind of an overarching story that, if you pay attention closely, you can see that things are kind of ramping up to be more serious than before. And I won't get too much into it. It's not like it's a huge story spoiler or anything like that, but I would rather you experience JP Santoro's videos yourself. They're genuinely very, very well animated animated and very cute. I mean, you can see the inspiration in the way they're animated. It's very South Parky with the animation style of Edda and Eddie, with a mix of like, is that like, what was it, Loopy or something like that? You know, the one from Kablam? Yeah, it looks a lot like that, doesn't it? Whatever the inspirations are, it's no doubt that JP Santoro has a lot of skill and talent in this, and I'm very excited to see them every week whenever they upload. Again, all the links are in the description below. Won't remind you every single time, but seriously, when you have a chance, check out their videos. They're very, very cute. And if you need it, you might want to hear what these monsters have to say. Despite how horrifying they look, trust me, some of their words kind of ring true to everyone's situation.
I know, it's sad when you try your best to make something work, and it doesn't go the way you anticipate. What's meant to be is meant to be, and you'll both be okay. Love is hard.
Now we go from one animator who's very talented in very wholesome shorts to another animator who is extremely talented in showcasing long format stories and horrifying details. This is David Romero, and he is honestly one of the best animators on YouTube when it comes to the horror genre, and I mean hardcore horror. It is very well done. Now, you might have seen some of his videos before, either through my stream or online somewhere, but he is someone who has won several awards and has been recognized online as not just a man who innovates in the horror genre and the horror media as a whole in animation, but as someone who is genuinely a master of horror when it comes to every single aspect of it. The storytelling, the subtle undertones, the build up to the scare, the atmosphere, the creature designs, the story, the personal stories of these characters that you see. There's so much relatability alongside with this eldritch sort of horror that haunts these characters in his shorts. They're very well done. It's extremely horrifying, and some of my favorites from him are Pleasant Inn, which is a story about a young lady who's just checking in at this one hotel called Pleasant Inn, and just it is a terrifying experience. A monster is hunting down these humans that not only devour them but can also mimic them, and they turn into this sort of strange and kind of bug-like creature that goes after our main character. It is so fucking scary. But one thing I really love is just the way every character moves. That goes from the creatures to the humans. Everybody has sort of like a realistic movement to them. There's weight behind every step, every time they scramble, every time they run. There's so much momentum happening that's so impactful, so heavy. It's so wonderfully made. I really, really love these animations. Of course, with his earlier work, it does kind of work against him. When I was watching Other Lily, I gotta be honest, the shock ending, which, by the way, please watch David Romero's videos. You will not regret it. They're all very wonderful. But at the end of Other Lily, his older short from 7 years ago, there is a moment where Lily is dragged out from the kitchen outside by the monster, and it's terrifying in concept. If it were a real human body, it'd be very scary, but this is animated and it just looks like a rag doll just like being flung around. But he gets better as time progresses and his animation skills evolve. They're so wonderfully done. It is, I can't sing praises higher. It's just so wonderful. And there is one that I personally adore, and that is his Scary Story animated test, which is just so well done. If you remember Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, then you will recognize the art style before you. It is done purposely in that style, as if this cover, or rather the art shown in that book, was made into a cartoon series. It's sort of like a glimpse into an alternate reality where those portraits came to life and actually became a show. It's really well done. Again, it has another ending that I really, really enjoy, and you just have to watch it yourself. It is fascinating. It is really awesome. We can also see that through these animations, David Romero is a big fan of online horror culture, as one of his videos, titled Slimy Swamp Ghost Cryptids, is very heavily inspired by Trevor Henderson's, well, I don't know, online presence, art, I guess if you want to call it. It's very much that, just animated, and it's so unsettling, so creepy. And in some sort of ways, if you're someone who's really deep into horror and want to create horror content yourself, watching people who are great at their work, great at their content, often inspires people to be better at their own stuff. And if you ever wanted to animate horror, or if you've ever wanted to be inspired in your analog horror series, or anything that you wanted to portray yourself online and get noticed, then seriously check out David Romero. And I feel like that will give you inspiration into what to do and how to animate, because it shows the best steps to take while creating horror. And this goes for anyone, not just animators, but creating horror and directing horror, building up from nothing to the exposure, to the slow creep buildup that will eventually lead to our climax, which will be the most terrifying thing that you will see or produce someday. So seriously, check out David Romero. He is a wonderful, wonderful animator. You will not regret watching his stuff. Now, going from coordinated animated short films to something far more, I guess, experimental and abstract, we have Baphomet-kun. Now, Baphomet-kun is someone that I for some reason I haven't seen many people talk about, but I'm sure many people have seen his videos. There are several shorts made by Baphomet-kun, as well as several longer videos on his channels that are all extremely weird, just absolutely insane, strange edits that have almost no meaning to them. Lots of them are very horrifying. Some of them are scary, but not all of them seem malicious. And by that I mean they're not really made for the intent of horrifying you or scaring you. They're sort of made with the intent of just weirding you out. That's not to say they're not scary. They are scary at times, but saying Baphomet-kun is a horror channel would be kind of a stretch. His channel is more reminiscent of someone who's making experimental films than it is actual horror content. In some ways, watching his content is sort of like watching someone's nightmare. You know, not necessarily your own, just getting a glimpse of someone who just constantly suffers from nightmares every night, seeing and experiencing a glimpse of their mind where one snippet of their dream is just put in front of you and you're allowed to see what's going on and you just don't understand any of it. What if nightmares were tangible? What if they were comprehensible? In some ways, I think that's what Baphomet-kun's videos are. A lot of Baphomet-kun's videos are very introspective and have very religious overtones, with so many of the figures in these videos praying or believing that they are God, or that they are ascending, or that they're speaking to angels and gods and such. Or maybe some of these videos are about the insecurities that Baphomet-kun faces, or maybe the person itself in the videos are facing. A kind of disillusionment that a lot of these characters face, a lot of them being put in very uncomfortable scenarios, some of them just self-loathing. Sure, it's all strange and a lot of it is very mesmerizing, but I just can't help but watch all of it, you know? And it's also just, in some weird way, it's cathartic. It sort of exposes these things in your mind that you're kind of afraid to confront. So when you see someone else talk about those things that you're afraid of or you're scared of, and it's shown to you in a video format, it kind of feels nice to be heard and to be seen. You're experiencing the same thing as the creator. Or in some ways, some of these are very calming. They have nice, gentle music with, you know, weird, strange background sound effects or visuals. But all the same, it's easing to you. There's some relatability with it. Or maybe there's no relatability and you just sort of lose yourself to the images and sounds before you, but all the while you're just paying attention because it somehow is so hard to look away. With this next channel, I kind of want to be transparent. I don't really want to take a deep dive into this channel right now because I do want to do that later on in the future as its own single video, but I do want to make a shout out to this channel because they gave a shout out to me. Paradef is a YouTube channel that deserves way more love and way more attention than it has right now. It's a channel run by Joe Gagliardi, a film student who's extremely passionate about, well, film, and has shown that his choreography and his cinematography is wonderful and extremely well done. I first encountered this channel about a year and a half ago during one of my streams, and his earlier videos are just haunting. The very first video on this channel is called The Bleeding Lady, and it is a single frame video. As in, there's only one picture in this entire 2-minute and 41-second video. Now, that might seem a little, well, slow, and maybe you won't get anything creepy out of this, despite from the fact that the image itself is very haunting. However, you'll come to appreciate more of this film when you realize that Joe actually was limited in this video. See, it was actually a college project where the assignment required him to use one image as the entire narrative point, and it is incredibly well done, the narrative that is set up, and it's amazing how scary it can be using only one frame. And by the way, quick shout outs to Dead Hats, as he did make a more in-depth video on this entire channel where he actually interviewed the creator and has a lot of in-depth knowledge on the channel itself and the creator. Links will be in the description. From here on out, the story fleshes out more with this little universe that Joe has created, the universe that takes place within the world of Paradef. And what's brilliant about this entire series is the fact that the entire story is revolving around one single item, and that item is an 8mm camcorder. This is the most integral thing about Paradef. It's that this thing exists and it tells and unfolds the story of the tragedy that this one unit known as Paradef had to endure. And it is such a fascinating story that can't actually be described very well in just one ad-libbed video. Honestly, it really can't. It's not that it's abstract, it's just that it has a lot of original ideas that you can't really just dissect watching it one time. You actually literally have to investigate it yourself and nitpick every single little thing that happens in this story in order to really get the full scale of what this is about. And again, I want to go way more in depth on this channel when I get the chance. Hopefully that'll be the next video, because honestly, talking about it makes me excited to to watch it again, because I really do love the cinematography and the original ideas that it has. I mean, come on, you could talk to your old dead ghosts and they can tell you who murdered them, and they're all some sort of SWAT team. This is some SCP level shit, but it's actually going beyond that. It's actually cool. I don't know, dude, it reminds me of Stalker, and I fucking love Stalker. But I won't get too ahead of myself. I'm not going to show my hand. I would rather you guys treat this as a sort of preview of what I want to talk about in the future. And honestly, just check it out yourself. See if you can decipher the story and unravel the lore that's hidden away in this little channel that has a really cool mini-series. And I just, it's so fucking cool. I really like it. And I hesitate to call it analog horror because it's not really analog horror, although it does kind of have the vibes of one. It doesn't really have the cliches that you see in normal analog stuff, but the way this story is told is very emblematic of analog horror, using old footage, using a perspective of a camera as if they were the eyes of the main character. It's very much that, but it's done so perfectly well in a way that's just so good. And really, check it out. You're gonna love it. And the last channel I want to talk about today is Six Life Studios, more specifically Luther's Midfright Snack. I honestly made this entire video just for this channel because I have no idea how I was gonna get the word out that I found this really cool spooky channel that reminds me of like old 90s 2000s public broadcasting station kind of shows. I don't know if anybody else grew up with that actually. That might fall on deaf ears, but when I was a kid I didn't have many channels, and the TV that I used was actually like broadcasting through like TV antennas. This is the only TV that I had in my room, so I didn't have like any cable at all. I only had like 4 channels, and one of them was PBS. So a lot of the shows that I watched were just made by people within the area or within the state. And this captured that vibe perfectly, and way better, honestly, than any of those shows, and probably has the most authentic feel of old analog TV than I've seen anywhere else. And it is most likely because of the fact that this is being captured by actual analog cameras and shit. But it's really not just that. Anybody can do that, and many analog horror videos nowadays are doing that, but there is a certain era feel that you need to capture to really convince the audience that you were from that, and that is exactly what Luther's Midfright snack does. It not only captures the camera quality, but it captures the setting itself and the vibes as well. You know, a cheaply made TV studio show with, you know, pretty awkward actors and pretty silly, goofy, and straight up bordering on whether or not it's going to be accepted by the FCC. The show itself is a variety show with many different skits, tons of different actors, but one host, and that is of course Luther. Luther is a really funny host just because he's really awkward and doesn't really have a stage presence, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. He definitely just seems like a guy who has maybe a couple $1,000 and slapped together a set, bought out a studio, and probably just decided, hey, I like spooky stuff, I'm gonna invite my spooky monster friends over to make this show with me, and everything goes horribly wrong.
Heart beams from his eyes, making your victim, subject, fall in complete and unwavering love and admiration for you.
Yeah, I guess when you described a laser, I was picturing something else in my head.
What do you mean? What's wrong with it?
I mean nothing, but like, why does he have to look like that?
Look like what? He looks like a robot. Oh, that's what all robots look like. What do you mean?
Yeah, but you were like describing just a laser beam. I don't understand why he has to have human features.
Oh, Luther, it's so much more comforting for people. They're able to have a human connection with it.
Yeah, okay, but why are there guns?
It is in so many ways so charming, and it's everything that I really love about not just honestly horror content, but just spooky stuff in general. I love Halloween vibes. I love spooky, weird, and just occult stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be scary or horrific. It just has to be spooky. It has to give off the vibes of something that reminded you of your childhood when you got really scared of things like super easily, or just the vibes of like ghosts and ghouls and skeletons and witches, you know, around the Halloween season. And that's sort of every single episode, even the more holiday focused stuff like their Christmas stuff, their Valentine stuff, etc. It's all very well done, and you can see the love with every frame, and every character just exudes personality, even if the personality itself isn't executed that well. But that's just part of the charm. They're working with as much as they can, and it just really emphasizes just how wholesome this whole show is. And I'm going to use a word that seems kind of unfitting, but the show is really cute. I know, yes, there's beheadings, there's people getting shot straight up, and just people getting murked every single episode, but it's still just a cute vibe. It's not really too violent. It's just something that's so nice, something you just put on in the background or just watch, or, you know, have as a sort of like Halloween decoration when people are over at your house for a party, and you just put that on in the background. It's just like a nice little filler. It really has that nice like VHS vibe of like an old Elvira episode that was caught once by somebody like your uncle or your dad who wanted to watch Elvira's boobs, and they recorded it sloppily over their like old wedding videos and shit. It's so well done. Now, as charming as all of this is and as cute as it all is, what I said about Luther isn't totally wrong about him being just some guy with a couple $1,000 who can just make a TV show. That's kind of what's happening behind the scenes. See, the people who make this aren't really working with like a big budget or anything. They're working with what they've got, and what they've got so far is not much, but they make it work with the little that they do have. It makes it that much more authentic, and the love that exudes from it is that much more apparent. Though as cute and underground as that is, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not struggling. First of all, the views that they get is not very great, to be honest. They're still very underground, very obscure, and still need a lot of people to love their content and to watch their content in order for them to be self-sustaining. Not only that, but the studio that they own, or rather rented out, currently got its property rent raised by a couple $100s, which became unaffordable for the team behind Six Slice Studios, to the point where they had to start a GoFundMe. Now, fortunately, they did end up raising their goal just barely, but it's still pretty scary to think that they almost didn't make that goal. Now, they did film their final episode, and they said that they had enough rent for 3 months. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any new episodes of Luther's Midfright Snack. I'm not sure what their future plans are. I hope it returns, but I can understand why this sort of thing can't really be sustained for very long if nobody's really watching it. Or maybe they just don't want to do it anymore. Maybe it's an idea that they had for a few short episodes and they're done with it. But either way, I can see that there was so much passion, so much love, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful little show that I enjoyed watching. Not only does it have skits, but it's also oozing with creativity, with the shots in between being sometimes claymation to 3D to even just old films from the 60s and 70s, old B horror films that really show the creators' love for horror in itself and just spooky vibes just everywhere. And I don't know how else to tell you just how wonderful this channel is. Everything was handcrafted by the creators of this show. Also, a quick side note, they used to have side episodes called Luther Presents, which is basically the same show, but they actually show a movie in between the skits, and I think that's just wonderful. Reminds me of Mystery Science Theater 3000, or Elvira, like I said, or that old show that I'm pretty sure nobody remembers, The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Remember that? I hope you do. He's got a new series going on, by the way. I think that's cool. So this is all handcrafted and done with love. And by the way, Hayden Hall, the mastermind behind this entire show and just the channel itself, the studios and the movies that they make, is also an incredible artist with vintage looking art that looks straight out of the 80s from those old posters that you used to see from those scary films that we used to watch. He has mastered that art style down, and if you want to commission him, he has that information in his website. Again, description down below. Or if you want to support the channel itself and give it more love, then hey, seriously, check these videos out. They're really wonderful. It's not just his Luther's Midfright Snack that I'm a big fan of, but I also like their short films too. So if you're ever curious, if you ever want spooky vibes, and knowing that Halloween is just around the corner, if you need something for background noise to really get you in the mood for that sort of vintage vibe, then go ahead, check out the channel Six Slice Studios. And that about does it for me. I hope you guys do check out these channels, and I'm hoping that this video gets a lot of views and likes, not just to profit from it. Honestly, I just want these channels to get more recognition and more love, and I'm hoping that it gave you something that you haven't really explored yet or haven't really seen before. I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of these, and I'm a big fan of others too. So if you want to see more of these kinds of videos where I just recommend you stuff that I saw, but it's not necessarily horrifying or an ARG or an analog horror, then I don't know, let me know. Listen, at the end of the day, I don't really consider myself a horror channel at all. I just kind of got sucked into the more scarier side of YouTube things. I'm more like a spooky channel that just likes spooky vibes and horror adjacent stuff, which is why I made Traumathon. And I guess while we're on the topic, it's, you know, I'm sure many people know already if you follow me on Twitter, but I guess I haven't really made that announcement here on YouTube since last year. There will not be a Traumathon this year. And there's a lot of reasons why. Last year was kind of, it wasn't that bad. I liked working on it. I liked the stress that comes with it. But 2 years ago, when I went through pretty much a pretty bad personal experience in my life, I just realized that, you know, I'm killing myself over something that, while I love, isn't really helping me pay the bills. And things have just not been looking good for me. Like financially, if you guys already know, I have a lot of, you know, issues with my rent and my landlords, and that just has been an added stress that, you know, has been demotivating me from working on videos. But nowadays, I'm seemingly doing a little bit better. Things have been getting resolved, and I'm hoping to move by the end of the year. But for now, I don't really want to add Traumathon to my list of stressors, because honestly, it's never been a stressor for me. I love Traumathon, but I just have to do the right move. As much as I want to work hard, I have to also work smart and what's best for me. That's not to say I won't be doing any Traumathon related things during October, but you'll definitely not get one video a day next month. And I hope you understand, and I know you will. You guys have always been incredibly nice. You know, I'm sure there's like new viewers out there that have found my content, and you guys, you know, sometimes don't really understand what's going on, and I get your criticisms. I understand how harsh you can be, but for the people who stuck around and been here for a long time, I have so much appreciation for you, and I'm so grateful to have so many of you, and I'm just thankful that you guys have still allowed me to make this sort of content, and you've still been watching. And you know, I'm just happy that I can still make this and still love this now more than ever. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good October. I hope you guys are safe, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Love y'all a ton. Goodbye.